Hey, my name is Xolo Maridueña. I play Miguel Diaz on Netflix's Cobra Kai, and I just spoke to Kara on Really Famous. You're not going to want to miss it.
This is Really Famous. I'm Kara Mayer Robinson, and you know me, I'm all about getting to know the real person behind the fame. Okay, seriously, have you watched Cobra Kai yet on Netflix? So good. I mean, flawed, yes, but especially if you grew up in the 80s, and also if you didn't, it's just pure enjoyment. Pure. So I'm excited to share this talk with you. My guest is Xolo Maridueña. He plays Miguel, the #1 Cobra Kai student, under Johnny, his sensei. So the show is hugely popular right now, and it also stars Ralph Macchio and Billy Zabka, who were in the original movie The Karate Kid. Cobra Kai basically follows what happens to both of them and where they are now, and it's really fun and it's very current day. I should warn you, there's a little bit of a spoiler in the middle of my talk with Xolo, but honestly, if you haven't seen it yet, just watch it. Our talk will definitely not interfere with the experience of watching Cobra Kai. But FYI, it's about 45 minutes or so into our talk, and it's about the season 2 finale. Another FYI fun fact is that Netflix just announced that season 3 will premiere on January 8th, and that there will be a season 4. So aside from Cobra Kai, you may also remember Xolo from Parenthood. He played Victor. So in real life, he's only 19 right now. I'm pretty sure he's the youngest guest so far on Really Famous, but he was an absolute joy to talk to. He's into so many things, and we have a lot of fun talking about a variety of movies and TV shows and life in general. We taped this on Zoom, so you can also catch a glimpse of us, or the whole thing if you'd like, on my YouTube channel. It's there now. Just go to youtube.com/reallyfamous. Click on the subscribe button and then click on the notifications bell. And boom, you're set. So anyway, here we are, Xolo and me. We did have a little bit of interference, but it was a snap to fix because they were minor things, such as my dog whining to get in the room and join us. You were living with your parents before, so this is like your first time on your own.
Yeah, this is my first time alone. When we film, I live in Atlanta by myself, but this is like my first time being, I guess, like getting to choose my own furniture and getting to kind of figure out just day-to-days. Recently, the days have been pretty lackluster and a little mundane, but hopefully once everything gets in, then I'll be able to start doing, I don't know, whatever people who live alone do.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I haven't lived alone for a really long time, but I did for many years. Like, I have 3 kids, I'm married, and I have a dog. So, like, I'm never alone, it feels like, especially with, the pandemic and everything. So, but I don't know what I did when I lived alone, but I think I liked it. I think maybe at first it was a little bit strange, but I kind of feel like I can't imagine what it would be right now to live alone, with just the fact that everybody is sort of like separate, you know what I mean? I don't know. Are you like a little bored? Or are you like, what do I do with myself? Or like, you can't really have a million people over. Well, I hope.
I just kind of find myself like yesterday, I was like, I'm kind of bored. Like, I guess I'll do my laundry. I guess I could be productive and try to do some stuff. So I did some laundry and was like, maybe I'll sweep. So I like started like, it just kind of stuff like that. And then like I was done and I'm like, dang, like, I can't have any friends over. Like there's like 2 buddies who live super close to me, and they're super like homebodies, and they like, especially right now during coronavirus. So I was like, all right, you guys, the Lakers are playing tonight. So I was like, you can come over and we'll make some food and watch the Laker game. But honestly, that's the anomaly. It's usually just like, all right, maybe we can all press play on our Netflix movies at the same time. And
it's like not the same at all.
Exactly. But it's honestly, it could definitely be worse. I'm fortunate to be in the situation that I'm in. So
yeah, for sure. So I definitely want to talk about Cobra Kai. I love it. Well, should we talk about it now then? Or do you want, all right, let's just go ahead and talk about it. I have to tell you, I saw Karate Kid, of course, when I was little. But I really didn't think I would like Cobra Kai, to be honest. And I remember when it premiered on YouTube, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." It was a couple years ago. Actually, I'm sure that I saw you at the Tribeca Film Festival. You guys had opening night there.
We were over there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember I was there, watching this and the other thing. I was actually at the theater next door, which was playing some Steve Buscemi movie. But
that's so crazy that you say that. We were walking the red carpet, and on our way out of the red carpet, he was coming out of his premiere, and I was like, "Yo, I love you so much!" Like you're, and he was like, "All right, kid, like whatever, like, like not mean, but just kind of like, I get this all the time. Like, I get it. You're a kid actor, like." So that's so crazy that you say that. Yeah.
No, he's like a legend. Hello. And I hear he doesn't really like to do media much. So it's like rare that you get to get a glimpse of him or whatever. So I remember seeing him on the red carpet too. That's so funny. I think that, I must have seen you on the red carpet too. I was like just going in at that point. I remember, is it Billy or William? What does he call himself now?
His legal name is William, but he everyone that knows him calls him Billy, because he says he likes to be able, when someone calls his name, to be like, am I turning around and I am supposed to know this person, or is this a person that doesn't know me? So William is like people who are like, hey, I loved you from the Karate Kid, and then Billy is like family and friends and stuff like that.
Got it.
But
okay.
Billy is fun.
I always thought of him as Billy because I remember he was on How I Met Your Mother. I don't know if you saw that, but I remember him on. I think they called him Billy there, but
he played himself. Yeah,
exactly. It was so funny. So I remember seeing him. I remember seeing Ralph Macchio, everybody coming through. And then it was like, oh, Steve Buscemi's coming, Steve Buscemi. But like, I don't think he talked to anybody or anything. So you're lucky you even got a second with him. I say that's good for you.
Cool.
So who were all right, we'll get back to Cobra Kai. Who were some of the actors that you like look up to and like would love to meet or work with or whatever someday?
Yeah, John Leguizamo and Oscar Isaac and Diego Luna I'd say are the three, I guess, actors that I look up to the most. Being a Latino, I feel like they've really made huge strides in the industries that they work in and kind of like the path that they've carved out for themselves. I feel like they're three of probably the best examples that I can think of off the top of my head. And they're also super talented actors. But,
by the way, who did you just mention? You mentioned Leguizamo.
Leguizamo, Oscar Isaac, and Diego Luna.
Oscar Isaac, was he? I feel like I just read this morning that he was cast to play Francis Ford Coppola in a movie called Making of the Godfather or something, which would be amazing.
That's interesting. No, I didn't even know that. No. Yeah. Most recently, I know that he's in Dune, the new Dune that's going to come out, and also like Star Wars and Ex Machina and stuff like that. But
yeah, those are all good actors. John Leguizamo is like amazing. And he's like, I heard him on a podcast recently, actually. I forget who was interviewing him, but it was he's really interesting too. Not just talented, but like a super interesting guy.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many talented actors in the industry that you really can't go wrong. I really like, recently I just watched $1 Million Baby. And Hilary Swank was super good in that movie. That was like an intense movie. I was not expecting that.
So is that like enjoying a little resurgence or something lately? I feel like I've heard people mentioning that movie and it's really like kind of old. I saw it when it first came out.
It's kind of interesting. I feel like Netflix plays a huge part in that. Like when Netflix is like, these are the movies that are coming out this month. And like, for example, since I just moved into my apartment, I've been watching more TV because I never used to watch TV before, but I'm just kind of like, let me see what's on. And you look at like the trending on Netflix and it's like Smurfs 1, Real Steel. And I'm like, none of these movies are new movies. But I guess it's just like a big deal when a movie first drops on Netflix that it's like, oh, let's watch this, even if it's an old movie. And so I think that, because I remember that's how I watched $1 Million Baby. I was like, oh, okay, I've heard of this movie before. And now it says new on Netflix just this month. So I was like, all right, I'll check it out. That's how they get you.
And also there's I know also on that list on Netflix, one of the recent things was also One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And I think that's because of Ratched, which is a new series on Netflix. Mm-hmm. But I guess people want to watch the old thing too. But
exactly. And they did the same thing with Cobra Kai. Like they released Karate Kids 1, 2, and 3 on Netflix and then released Cobra Kai season 1 and 2. So it kind of it all
Brilliant.
works. And the guys that do the analytics over there, I'm sure are like the smartest people because they always get me to like click on stuff, and I'm like, oh wow, 4 hours later I'm like, that was a great show, oh my gosh. So
Right, but it's like a gift. It's a gift to find these shows. So I don't, they're super smart, but I appreciate it. I appreciate Netflix. And also, okay, so let's go back to Cobra Kai for a second. Yeah. So anyway, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm really going to like it. Like, not that into karate. I love it. And I am sure that I'm not the first person to tell you that. Like, obsessed. Like, I loved it. The first time I watched it, I was so into it. Yours, more than the Karate Kid, more than I was ever into the Karate Kid. And it was so good. And I immediately was like, I had to tweet about it. Like, can we please talk about this? Have to talk about Cobra Kai. I didn't want to give away spoilers. But it's so good on so many levels. So I know you hear that. What do you think the magic is? Like, why do you think people are so into it?
I think most of it can be attributed to our creators. Like, our creators have, time and time again said that the Karate Kid is like their Star Wars. Like, they really, really love the Karate Kid. And because of that, they know what the fans want because they're the biggest fans of the Karate Kid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So when creating the show, they know where to put the nostalgia, what kind of drama they want or people want to see ensue. And I think also what's really great about it is that there's no really good guy or bad guy. Like, in the original Karate Kid, there was very clearly a protagonist in, Ralph Macchio or Daniel LaRusso, and an antagonist with not only Kreese, but Johnny Lawrence, right? And I think in this show, you start to see, even from like the first episode, that both of them, like, you're rooting for both of them. You like Daniel LaRusso because he has this nice successful life, but then you're also like, well, he's kind of a jerk, to like, very like pretentious in the first episode, and Johnny's like down in the dumps in the first episode, and then you're like, he's actually, like, he has very human like qualities, and because of that I can relate to him. And you see that even more throughout the season. And I don't want to get too much into spoilers of like seasons 1 and 2 and stuff like that, but it's really just a whole bunch of shades of gray instead of white and black, and like, this guy's the good guy, this is the guy I'm rooting for, I don't want this guy to win. You really root for both people the whole time. And I think that's what really makes a show interactive, is that you don't have to have one favorite character. I can have a favorite character on Miyagi-Do and on the Cobra Kai side, and sometimes they interact together. So I think that's what makes the show so good, and especially that everyone, Ralph and Billy waited so long. Like, I'm sure they've gotten so many pitches to bring back the Karate Kid in some capacity. Yeah. And when talking to Ralph, he's just like, it didn't really feel right. Like, I wouldn't want to bring it back for just for the, the cash grab, right? And I think now that our creators presented the two, Ralph and Billy, with something actually pretty cool, they're like, okay, this feels like the right thing to kind of bring back, and not in a corny way. So I think that's what makes the show really wonderful.
I think yes to all that. Plus, it's so like funny, and like there's so many great lines in it. I mean, obviously, Billy really gets almost all the great lines, but of course you do too.
He like a hash brown. Yeah, put a hash brown on it. He has so many, and it's funny because, he's not like that at all in real life. Like, I remember one day we were filming a scene where he gets done with this big meeting, and I get done with this date, and we come back to his dojo, and he's like, tell me you're the man. And I'm like, I'm the man. And he's like, let me grab some drinks for us. And he pours the drinks, and he's like, here, and clinks cups with me. He's like, and I smell it, and I'm like, is this whiskey or tequila or something? He's like, it'll put hair on your balls. And that was the line. And he was like, guys, like, do I really have to say this? Like, I feel like it's funny because as a father, he's like, I don't know. This is not for something that I would say. Like, he's the sweetest guy ever, but he plays this dude that is not only like technologically not available whatsoever. Like, he is he's not he can't use technology at all, and also just super insensitive to everything else. So it's funny because he's the exact opposite of that. He's like the sweetest, most humble, down to earth man I've ever met, and he has to say all these things that are like, like all of these
misogynistic, exactly, all of the things that come out of his mouth. I'm sure I totally believe you, but it's so funny. It's like they plucked him out of the 80s too and like put him in current day, and it's just so funny. I mean, also, like, I love the fact that even in probably the first episode, maybe the second, I don't remember, when you're like, well, wait, my guidance counselor told me, like, exactly. And it was so perfect because
like, shut up,
that is what that is what you would say.
Counselor anymore.
Right, so funny. So that also it is so, like, for anybody who grew up in the 80s, I'm sure you know this. It is really like it puts us right back there. And it's just so something so nostalgic and so like comfortable about the music, the whole thing. So I know you weren't around then. I guess you were around. Well, you were alive, right? You just weren't. No, you weren't yet.
No, not even. No. I was born in 2001. Yeah, not even. Yeah, 1984 I was not even an idea yet. So. But it is fun to kind of, then and there's a lot of shows like that. Stranger Things obviously is like a really big example of that today. That brings a big nostalgia factor to it, and there's tons of shows like that. But I'm glad that we kind of get to be in that category now of shows that have kind of done reboots right. It's I feel like it is the exception and not the usual.
Right. So some of these 80s references, then, do you have any idea what they're talking about, or you just kind of read them and whatever?
Yeah, I mean, there were a ton of, even we have a lot of 80s references, and a lot of them genuinely are towards the movies. Like there are so many references, callbacks to the original movies and stuff like that. But I love 80s movies. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is like one of my favorite movies ever.
Classic.
I know it's like super cliche to be like, oh, I love John Hughes and like 16 Candles and Breakfast Club, but Ferris Bueller's Day Off genuinely is one of my favorite movies, and especially during quarantine, I've been like, all right, because before this, I really had seen like no classic movies, like movies that everyone should watch. Like I hadn't seen The Godfather, I hadn't seen Pulp Fiction, I hadn't seen like Braveheart, and everyone around me was like, if this is the industry you want to work in, like you got to watch these movies that are so highly acclaimed and so well respected in this industry. So I was like, okay. So during quarantine, I was like, all right, every like 3 days, I'm going to tackle a new movie. I'm going to watch it twice just because what I want to be is a screenwriter. So getting to watch these movies that are highly acclaimed, not only as like actors and like the actors in them, but also the writing and the directing and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, I'll watch them twice. So that's where I was like, all right, I'll watch the Godfather series. I'll watch Pulp Fiction. I'll watch Usual Suspects, which is one of my favorite movies now. And like all these different movies. And I'm like, holy crap. It's not just like Disney movies. There's more. Yeah. Because I feel like honestly before this, like I wasn't a big movie watcher, so I kind of was just like, I'll watch the new Pixar movie and the new Fast and Furious and the new da da da. Whereas now, I'm kind of like, oh man, A24. Like I love A24. Holy crap! Like Hereditary and Good Time so you've watched a lot. That's a lot that you've seen recently. I'm broadening my range, but I still have a long way to go. Okay, so I'm excited. Pulp Fiction. Okay, The Godfather obviously is one of the greatest of all time. So do you have an opinion about, we'll go to Pulp Fiction in a sec. So do you have an opinion about The Godfather versus The Godfather Part 2? Versus 3. Honestly, I didn't even know that was a like debate before I watched it. Like I didn't like it would be the equivalent of like the prequels to Star Wars versus the first 3 that actually came out. I didn't even know that was something that people were like, oh man, this is so. Because of that, it's a friendly debate. Like I think anybody who loves The Godfather or The Godfather Part 2 also loves the other one. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like one's good, one's bad, but it's some people have an opinion about. But anyway, it's all good. We love both Godfathers. Yeah, and honestly, because I didn't go into it with the like, I wasn't even thinking about the second one when watching the first one. So because of that, I was just like, okay, let's click the second one, and I didn't know what to expect. Like I figured that chronologically they would kind of follow each other, but I was pleasantly surprised, and I understand why it's so important and like why it's I genuinely how I figured out the movies that I was going to watch was by going to IMDb and being like, all right, what are the top like 100 movies that people are like, you have to watch these? And Godfather 1 and 2 are like in the top 3.
Yeah.
I don't know if Godfather is number 1, but it's like Shawshank Redemption, Godfather 1, Godfather 2, or like Godfather 1, Shawshank Part 2. And I was like, okay, so it seems like Godfather is probably a good place to start. And I understand why.
Totally.
It's a really
all right.
great.
So how about Pulp Fiction? Oh, sorry. What?
The lineup in that movie is crazy. Everyone is in that movie. I was like, oh my God. Like Pulp Fiction, I did love. I do like anthology movies like that kind of take a bunch of different storylines and intertwine them together.
Yes.
I do really love movies like that. And I hadn't honestly seen I don't think I've seen a ton of them. But like American Horror Story, I think is the only like big one that I can think of off the top of my head. That's like every season it changes, but I really loved
Fargo is
Pulp
another
Fiction.
one.
Which one?
Fargo.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, on TV.
Fargo, is that?
Fargo's on
that...
TV. Okay, so Fargo was a movie initially a long time ago, and now it's a series on FX. So the first season had nothing to do with the second season, which had nothing to do with the third, and the fourth season just started this week.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'll check it out.
I recommend it. It's really good, especially start with season 1. It's like absolutely incredible.
Okay. I feel like I've seen billboards of that. Maybe knitted. I don't know. Maybe
Chris Rock is in it now this season. But like a lot of really great actors have been in it. So you want to be a screenwriter?
Yeah.
Is that your main thing? Like you're setting your eyes on that? Like, yes.
Yeah, I'd really love to be a screenwriter. Right now, the goal is to make a name for myself in the acting industry and really get to meet and work with as many people as possible and get to just work on a bunch of different types of projects. So I learn, so I can get better at writing. Like right now, I'm going to be honest, like the stuff that I write is subpar at best. Like it is, I still have a long way to go, but it's also because I haven't been writing for that long. Like I just figured out maybe in the past year that screenwriting is what I want to do. Like that's the long-term goal. So because of that, I'm like, all right, let me get my practice now, but it's hard. Like it's I have so like an immense amount of respect for the people who can sit down for an hour, 2 hours a day and be like, I'm going to write something, because I've had so many times where I've just sat down at my computer being like, oh, I have no ideas. Like I feel like my brain is empty, and then I'll leave and be like, oh, all the ideas are back. So I have an immense amount of respect for people who can just sit down and write, first of all. And then second of all, like everyone in this industry is like, I'm an actor / director / writer / producer, this and that. So I think being able to kind of at this young age of, 19 years old, dip my toes into all of these different aspects of the industry and then figure out when I'm, mid-20s, 30s, 35, whatever, what it is that I want to do for the rest of my life. So right now I'm kind of just figuring out. Right now it seems like writing is what I want to do, but it could change next year.
Yeah, but I think that's a great plan no matter what. If you're going to writing or if you're going to something different, just to expose yourself, make a name for yourself sounds good too. I mean, I'm not an industry expert, but it sounds like, yeah, why not? You're going to be at least doing different projects and then you'll be exposed to different things. You'll learn like what you like, what you don't, and even how to handle the things that you don't. So that seems like a great plan no matter what. Now that you live alone, I think I know something that you can do when you have spare time, right? You can work on a screenplay. But I do think also, like, I'm a writer as well. So I write for magazines and things. And so it's totally different, not writing fiction. But to me, like if I sit down at a computer and like, okay, how am I going to write? Like, the worst. But if I'm out like walking the streets or like walking my dog or something, suddenly like all these ideas flow. So I think sometimes it's about getting the ideas right and then putting them down. Exactly. But like staring at a blank computer screen, the worst.
It definitely is super intimidating because I'm like, that 30 minutes has gone by and I have a few sentences. I'm like, this is going to be a long day.
Yeah. But normal.
Of course, like it's when I'm not expecting it that I'm like, talking into my phone. I'm like, remember this. This is the idea that you have right now. And so that's, but I'm super grateful that you have freaking things like phones and and pens and papers that you could just like write down stuff anywhere. So that's a little
grateful for the little things. It's good.
Exactly.
Conveniences. So, of course, the first time I saw you, of course, was on Parenthood. Do you kind of hate talking about that? Because it was like not even you. It was like you were so much younger at the time.
I mean, I hate that I was so much younger or I don't hate it, but I wish that I was older because it was the lineup on that show is so awesome. And I wish that I was older because like the conversations that I have now with Billy and Ralph and the other people on the show are ones of an adult speaking to another adult. Whereas on that show, it was like, hey buddy, like, how you doing today? Like, do you want snacks or anything? Like, you'll just sit on your chair and then we'll bring you in when we need to do the scene, So because of that, I feel like I missed out on so many awesome conversations that could have taken place. And so that's like the biggest thing that I'm like, oh damn, like Craig T. Nelson, it would have been really nice to have like some really awesome one-on-one conversations with him or Ray Romano or Sam Yeager or all these guys that I'm like, oh, Lauren Graham is so big, like damn, like and whereas when I was on set, I was just like hanging out with the other kids that were on set and being like,
right. And there were plenty of kids, right?
Exactly. And so that's my biggest gripe is that I'm like, I wish I was older. Sure. But I will say it was, aside from Cobra Kai, the best show I've ever had the opportunity to work on. Like from the cast to the crew to the directors that would come in, like my goodness, was everyone. And it was my first TV job ever. Like I'd never worked on a TV show before, and it really, really set the bar high. Everyone on that show is so immensely humble and grateful, and I think it really kind of engraved in my mind that like, oh, okay, this is what this industry should look like. And if it doesn't look like this, like why doesn't it? Why doesn't it? And unfortunately, the reality is that was the anomaly. Like having everyone feel like a family and be like, oh, I'm so grateful to be here every day was an anomaly. And I started to see after that, like, oh man, not everyone is that nice. Like,
it's a bummer. I know.
But it really made me so much more appreciative of like, oh man, I hope I get to work with those people again, because I know that they're so not only talented, like that's out of the door. Obviously they're talented, but they're also just so pleasant to work with and made me feel, I was 11 at the time, made me feel so comfortable. Like they could have totally been like, just sit in the corner, eat your food and we'll bring you on. But they would always at least try to reach out and be like, hey, let's talk or something like that. So I'm super excited. I'm super grateful for that.
Okay. I know I look like I'm not interested in what you're saying, but actually my camera just froze. Do you hear me?
Oh no. Oh yeah. I can hear you.
You can hear me, but I need to get back on video here. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Connecting. See me now?
There we go.
All right. Good. So that was weird. Sorry about that. So I'm interested also in your family history and your name. So your family background, you, what is it called? IFA.
Yes, it's all over the place.
It's so interesting. So tell me about your childhood and like what, I know that it's also Hispanic Heritage Month and you really are celebrating it. So I want to hear more about that if you don't mind.
Yeah. So my full name is Ramario Xolo Maridueña. My first name is an amalgamation of my two uncles' names. Ramon and Mario. So my mom was like, oh, okay, his name will be Ramario. And my middle name is Xolo. And that is it is Mexican. So it's Aztec. So it derives from Mexico and it means the North Star, or the dog star. And it's also in Aztec, I guess, lore. It's this dog that would guide people from the plane that everyone lives on to like the underworld and would make sure that people get safely from the regular earth down to like wherever they were supposed to go next. So that's my middle name, and it's shortened down. It's like 20 letters, but my mom was just like, let's shorten it down to this. And even it's 4 letters right now, and it's still super hard for people to like look at and be like, Xolo. So that's my middle name, and my last name is Maridueña, which is an Ecuadorian last name. And to be quite honest, I like a lot of the Ecuadorian side of my family, a lot of them are either in Ecuador or passed away. So I haven't met anyone on my Ecuadorian side of the family. My biological father is half Cuban, half Ecuadorian. So I've met the Cuban side of his family, but not the Ecuadorian side of his family. So I don't really.
That's so interesting. Wow.
With that side, but the food is great all around. Mexican, Cuban, and Ecuadorian. Like you can't go wrong. If I go to anyone's house over the weekend, there's definitely promised to be good food. But it definitely is a double-edged sword sometimes, having a name like Xolo that nobody has seen before, because people are like, oh man, this is so cool. Where does your name come from? But also, like, I'll be like, it's Xolo. And they're like, okay, Xolo, like, perfect. And I'm like, well, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, but I don't blame anyone, honestly. Like, I used to, when I was a kid, be like, man, like, why don't they understand? But now I'm just like, there's so many unique names out there that you can't expect everyone to be like, you know, remember your name.
Yeah,
so,
but I have to tell you, I had a similar problem, and my name is much easier, probably, I guess you would think, but it's Kara, but I grew up being called everything but Kara.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
And I'm like, it was
like
so
4
annoying.
letters and 2 of them are the same letter. Yeah, exactly.
Like, what's the problem? Like, I don't know, but whatever. Everybody got it wrong. So I hated it back then. I remember I wanted to change it when I was in middle school, and now I'm like, okay, whatever. It is what it is.
Like, yeah. Now I love it.
But I think that like Xolo is so cool. It's really cool, but I could see where it would be annoying to have to like teach everybody what it is. But it's so cool too, because there's so much. So you have so many interesting sides of your background. It's very multifaceted, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of family nearby who you're close to, or like, where is everybody?
Yeah. So proximity wise, everyone on my mom's side of the family lives either in Los Angeles or Las Vegas. So they're fairly close. And then everyone that lives on my dad's side of the family is in Los Angeles, Miami, or back in Mexico or in Cuba. So they're all relatively close. Usually, if it wasn't pandemic time, like I would have flew to Miami already at this point. But it's hard to travel right now, obviously. Yeah. So I haven't seen a ton of them. But the people out in Los Angeles, I see all the time. Like my grandmother on my mom's side, or on my dad's side, lives out here. So I see them all the time. And now that I'm moving, they're all like, let's come over. Like, let me come over and cook for you. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. Like, let's make it happen. So I'm excited, because I'm sure in these next couple of weeks, they'll start coming over more often.
That's so sweet. I like it. Let them all in, let them all like bring stuff for you, exactly. Cook for you. And
I'm like, you guys want to come to my place and cook? Yeah, sure. Like, go for it. Like,
yeah.
I'm sure whatever you're cooking would be much better than what I'm making.
So what's in Miami? Did you like spend a certain time there? Or like what's your connection there?
Yeah. So my Cuban side of the family lives in Miami.
Okay.
So when I go out there, I kind of go visit them. And my biological father is a graffiti artist, so I go.
Oh, cool.
He has a museum out there in Wynwood, which is like the equivalent of the arts district out here in Los Angeles. So I go visit them sometimes, but that's like once a year. And honestly, the weather is the thing that I'm like, I would go over way more often if it wasn't for the humid, like, I feel like I'm swimming everywhere. It's like I go outside for an hour or two and I'm like, damn, I want to take a shower already. Like, this is it. It's not only hot, like I can handle hot. We like, it's 90 something degrees right now in Los Angeles, and it's October, it's about to be October. But over there, it's like 90 something degrees and also humid. And I'm like, I can't do it. But it's funny because all of my cousins and everyone that lives out there is like, I love it. I love the humidity. I'm like, more power to you, I guess. Like I really can't do it.
Well, I went to college in Florida, and so I know exactly what you're talking about. And I loved it at first. I was like glad to be out from the Northeast. I'm like, okay, so I will take the humidity. I'll take all of it. Yeah. Believe me, the 4:00 showers every day, I'll take it. But then it was exactly that kind of thing. Though, if you would take a shower, I'd blow dry my hair and I'd go outside, and like 30 minutes later, I'm like, okay, right. The hair is out too. I don't even know how far. And then you're just like, your clothes are like wet. It's not good. So I got sick of it. And then I moved after that. But yeah, the humidity is worse than anything. And have you been to Cuba at all? And Cuba?
No,
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 never?
no, I haven't. I really, really would love to. And obviously recently it's been much easier to head over there. But no, I haven't had a chance. Honestly, the the 2 trips that I had before coronavirus got canceled. So I was like, I'm not even going to think about any like traveling at all until this stuff dies down, because there's no point. Like, it's like, what's the point of being like, oh man, I wish I would have like, like, I'll just wait till it ends and we'll figure it out then. But I would love to go. I mean, not only for the food, like genuinely speaking, I do plan a lot of the trips that I make around food, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm a huge foodie, but also just like the culture and everything out there it feels so much older. And from the architecture to the cars and how everyone moves around there it's a pretty old fashioned, for lack of a better word. But,
yeah.
So I think in that regard, it'd be fun to go over there, but it's not going to happen anytime soon.
All right. So you're a foodie. So what are some of your favorite places in LA for like good ethnic food?
Good ethnic food. Let's see. I mean, my favorite food, I'd say, is Japanese and Indian food. Indian food, there's this place called Banu Indian Market. That's actually like it's a grocery store that has a restaurant connected to it, and that it has some of the best like butter chicken that I've ever had in my life. I'm like a huge chicken fan. Like, I could have chicken any way. So
nice.
That place is really good. For Thai food, there's this place called Toy over on Sunset. That's pretty good. But really, I mean, Chinese food, there's this place Mama Lou's in Alhambra. That's a dumpling house. That's phenomenal. I could go like on and on. I feel like, and that I would say is the thing that I splurge the most on. Like, I don't really spend money on a ton of clothes or like these like fancy belts and stuff like that. But food is definitely something that I'm like, every weekend I'm like, yo, me and my 3 boys, I'm like, let's go grab some food somewhere. And they're like, all right, we're here for it. And like, I know how to cook. So it's not like I'm eating out every day and like having In-N-Out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, I know how to cook. So on the weekends, I'm like, all right, let's go somewhere. That has kind of slowed down recently, especially because there's only like a handful of spots that do the dining out. And genuinely, I'm a little afraid of like just kind of being out and about, even if it's like, yeah, we're eating outdoors and there's screens and stuff like that. I'm like, I'd just rather like, why risk it? Like, why, like, it's not like, I'm like,
So that's interesting. I think that's kind of like interesting. Are most of your friends like that too? Because I feel like most 19-year-olds are like less careful than more, or like less concerned than more. But so you would say you're more on the like cautious side?
I think it's just that I'm like, I am very selective with the things that I will. Like, I have 3 buddies and what we do is we just hop in my car, and I love photography, and we'll drive to like Lancaster or Joshua Tree and take pictures and then stay the night and then come back. So like, that's the stuff that I enjoy. And I think because a lot of my friends are the same way, we're not like, damn, I wish we could go to the beach and like hang out with all of our friends, like with the whole squad and stuff like that. So it has been a little bit easier, I think, for us, especially because I play a lot of video games. So I'm like, it's not, I can stay in the house. Like, it's not that big of a deal, but there are times where I'm like, shoot, I wish I could, or events that I'm like, oh, I wish there was a Comic-Con this year, or I wish there was a Tribeca this year, or a South by Southwest, or luckily, like, I got the chance to go to Sundance this year. And that was like at the very beginning of the year. And that was like the coolest experience ever. I can't wait. I'm calling it right now. Hopefully, if I ever get a chance to be part of a Sundance movie, it's like the coolest experience that I've ever been on. I love like small art house films and stuff like that. So getting to be a part of Sundance was pretty cool. Yeah,
that is very cool. So we didn't talk about movies like that you're into. So like, what are some of your small art house movies? I'm going to let my dog in. Do you mind? She's like actually scratching at the door.
Of course.
And I'm like, so distracting. I'm going to let her in. Okay, fine, Stella, come on in. All right, you may or may not see her in a second. There she goes. All right. She's like, can I get in on this? Sorry about that. So what are some of your favorite smaller films?
Smaller films, I really love, honestly, A24 kind of just like checks all the boxes for me. Like, the movies that they do are some of my favorite movies. Recently, some of my like smaller, not like big blockbuster movies that I've seen. Beautiful Boy has been like a great movie. I've seen that movie like probably 5 or 6 times with Steve Carell and Timothée Chalamet. That movie is like one of my favorite movies for sure. Have you seen it?
No, but Steve Carell's amazing in everything
Steve
he
Carell,
does.
I watched Space Force and The Office and like all of these other projects, and you're like, oh, he's comedic. Like I haven't really seen him do anything dramatic, and Beautiful Boy is like the opposite of that. Like he plays the most serious. Like I don't think there's a second where you're laughing during that movie. And I was like, holy crap, he can do it all. He could like
totally.
He can be in Anchorman and being like lamp, TV, and also be the same guy that I'm like, holy crap, I'm bawling in the movie theater because of this man's performance. So Steve
Little
Carell's
Miss
really
Sunshine, by the way, is another one like that. It's an independent film, and you wouldn't even know that he's Michael Scott at all from The Office, and like he's just so good. Oh, wait, there's another one too I'm forgetting, but he's a perfect example of so funny, really but but dramatically almost more talented, if that's even possible. Exactly. I can't remember what the movie is.
You start to see that with like Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler's doing that too, like Uncut Gems.
Ray Romano. Definitely.
I mean, even like 50 First Dates is an example of that. Like he's also a super talented actor who does both serious and comedic type roles. But Beautiful Boy is one of them. Shia LaBeouf is my favorite actor of all time. So Peanut Butter Falcon, that came out recently. I loved Peanut Butter Falcon. I thought that movie was perfect. And Honey Boy was super great as well. I think it's like there's something nice about putting kind of your life out there like that. I'm sure that must have been so hard to be like, hey, this is my story, and it's not as glamorous as you guys make it out to be. And especially because he's a super controversial.
Wait, I never saw it. So that movie Honey Boy is about him, is it?
Yeah, it's like pretty closely based on his life. Like obviously there's some parts that are dramatized to make the story more interesting, but it's like basically his life throughout. It's like him at 3 different stages in his life, as like a kid, as like a older teen, and then as an adult.
That's funny because I remember seeing him, like the first time I saw him was there was a show on HBO called Project Greenlight, and it was basically a competition, and Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were running like a filmmakers competition, and whoever won got to make a film, and they funded it for them and they directed it. So he was in one of the winners' films. So that's like
way.
Yeah, that's going way back. Did they address that in the movie or no?
No. So honestly, that movie Honey Boy tackles like a lot of the trauma that he experienced being a child actor and having parents, but more specifically like a dad who was like not sabotaging, but really milking the fact that his son was an actor and kind of like using that to his advantage and like taking money from him and, really just kind of being like, even if you don't want to act anymore, like you're going to continue acting. This is what like the rest of your life is. And then how that kind of affected the rest of his life. And it's unfortunate too, because you see like now he's in the news like all the time being like, he's doing this or this and that. And you got to think like all of that stuff starts somewhere. And you start to see this movie like, oh, okay, I kind of understand why this and this and this happened. But he's still my favorite actor. I think he's so talented. First I did see him in Transformers, and I'm not like a huge Transformers guy, so I was like, okay, this guy's cool, like this movie's cool. But then getting to watch like Fury and Lawless or not Lawless, but like Fury and all these other movies that he's in, you really start to see like, oh man, this guy can really act. So that's why he's one of my favorites.
Okay, that's cool. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry for the interruption, but there's like a landscaper outside right now and just starting up a really loud I just want to close my window. But I can't
even hear it. You're fine.
Oh, you can't hear it? So it might not be. All right, I'm going to close my window anyway, but I'm going to ask you a question first.
Of course.
Okay, so let me ask you another Cobra Kai question. I know you said before that there's no like one side versus the other, but if you had to choose, would you choose Cobra Kai or Miyagi-Do?
I think 100% it'd be Cobra Kai. After getting to watch the show, because genuinely, like I don't really film with the Miyagi-Do side for most of seasons 1 and 2. So after watching the show, I think even still, I'm a part of. I would lean on the Cobra Kai side. Like I feel like Johnny Lawrence as a figure, as like a leading figure, I relate more to him than I do to Daniel. And if you asked me about the movie, I might have said, Miyagi-Do, like I agree more with that side. But I think once you start to see, the results of not only the Karate Kid, but why they're where they are today, I think the Johnny Lawrence side is one that I resonate more with and that I would be more inclined to join. Not only because like the dude is hilarious, but also I feel like he has way more human-like qualities than Daniel Russo.
Right, plus he's really growing too, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, from the first episode,
and you're helping him. Your character is helping him.
Exactly, we're helping each other, and I think that's one of my favorite parts of the story is that Miguel really didn't grow up with a father figure at all, and Johnny 100% is his father figure, and because of that, he wants to make him proud. And at the end of season 2, when you see that by listening to Johnny, he inadvertently got himself kicked off of a balcony, like. I think it's going to be, the results of season 2 are going to kind of pan out in an interesting way, just because you have to think like, if I trusted you and was so loyal to you that I went against what I was going to do and did what you said what I should do, and then I got hurt because of that. I think it's like personally as Xolo, not even as Miguel or connected to Cobra Kai, I would be like, so heartbroken that I went against everything, like went against all of my morals and all my thoughts to do what you said. And I did what you said and I got myself, in the hospital for it. I would be like, devastated.
Okay. So now we're obviously we've kind of like hit spoiler territory somewhat, which I'm going to alert everybody in the beginning that like there is going to be spoiler because not everybody will watch it. And I want them to. I'm going to be urging everybody to. But yeah, I'm with you. Like totally Cobra Kai, good stuff. Johnny, good stuff. Like it's not the same black and white as it was in the Karate Kid movie, except there is one black and white thing that's like, you can't like Kreese. Just saying.
Yes.
You can't. So, okay, I know you're not allowed to talk about season 3, right? So like, can I ask you like what you are allowed to say about it? Are you allowed to say anything?
Yeah. I can say that it is going to be coming out in 2021. That is quite possibly the only thing that I can say. After the move from YouTube to Netflix, like they definitely have kept everything under wraps. I mean, we have someone with a briefcase that's going to explode if I say anything. But genuinely, it's my favorite season. I think it's the best season. I think season 1 was all about establishing the characters and creating the world of creating the Karate Kid world in 2018 at that time. Season 2 was kind of about elevating those characters and kind of elevating those storylines and making sure that are allowing them to kind of intertwine. And season 3, I think, is just even more of that. Like now, especially that we've moved networks, like having the voice to be like, this is the storyline that we've been wanting to tell this whole time, and we were just like building a reputation and building so I think season 3 is my favorite season because of that, but that's just about all I can say.
Okay, so that does tell me that at least you make it.
Well, I mean, genuinely speaking, like it doesn't mean that, unfortunately. Like,
okay. Right. You could come back as a ghost or something like that.
I don't know about all that, but I will say that, regardless as to whether or not I do make it, everyone else's performance, like, totally outshines, and I think will be worth the watch regardless. But
okay, and you filmed it already, right? You filmed it before the pandemic?
We filmed it, before the pandemic. We finished, like, we didn't even film in 2020. So we've been finished with it. And because of, movie networks and because of this pandemic, like, it's been hard. But also it's like a double-edged sword because seasons 1 and 2 dropped on Netflix. And because everyone was at the house, like, I feel like it blew up like totally out of proportions, and none of us expected that. I didn't expect it, at least. Like, our creators were like, hey, Xolo, we want to call you and let you know that we're dropping on Netflix next week, and this is going to change your life. Like, like, regardless as to whether or not it, like, this is going to be a really big move. And they said that when we went on YouTube, and our show got pretty big on YouTube. I think all things considered, like we were definitely the biggest show that YouTube had, at least the biggest scripted show. And, you know, you started to see all of the fans of the original Karate Kid like really gravitate towards Cobra Kai, because they were like, oh my gosh, it's everything that I loved about the Karate Kid, but a new story. So I think because of that, having it on Netflix with so many new eyes around the world, like there's people from Brazil that are like, oh my gosh, yes, Cobra Kai, people from Australia, from Europe, from all across the globe that are now having the opportunity to see this show. I think it really hopefully sets us up. I don't know if we, you know, have a season 4 yet. Like they will never, they'll tell me the first day that we start filming that we have a season 4, but I hope that we get to continue this story and really get to show everyone like what we've been wanting to show them this whole time. So
I hope so too. You mentioned your 3 best friends. So are any of them associated with the show or no?
Yeah, so one of my best friends, his name is Jacob. He plays a guy with a mohawk on the show.
I'm not familiar with that guy. Who on earth would that be?
He's like the biggest dork I've ever met, you know, and he's a year older than me, but that guy is my brother. Like I've only known him for 3 years at this point, and I feel like I am surely to know him for the rest of my life. I trust him with everything, and he's one of my greatest friends. And then my other 2 buddies one of them is my buddy Anthony, who I've known since middle school. I've known him before I even started acting. So he's kind of been a ride along the ride for the whole time. That was the buddy that I was supposed to roommate with, who goes to school and was like, I gotta take the free housing. And then Drew, my 3rd buddy, is just my buddy from high school. I went to a regular high school all throughout. Like I didn't go do any homeschooling or anything like that. So Drew is like my greatest high school buddy. And I think honestly, the 3 of us, they all know each other and they all get along. So
you all do things together, the 4 of you?
Oh,
so
yeah,
all
100%.
different. That's so great. Good for you guys.
100%. I mean, yeah. Anthony lives like, if I was a professional baseball player, I could probably throw a ball and hit his house. And the other 2 live kind of far away, but they're always like making treks down to Los Angeles and being like, let's hang out. So those are my 3 homies, man. And I really admire them, and I think that they're so talented. They all want to do different things. Like Jacob wants to be a director, Anthony wants to be like an astrophysicist, Drew does like some sort of engineering. I always ask him, I'm like, what kind of industrial and systems engineering? And they're all going to be so talented in whatever fields that they go in, and I'm just glad that I got to meet them when I did, because it's going to be like one of those things where I look back and be like, oh crap, like yeah, I remember when we were in high school and like I was the only one that drove, so I had to take us everywhere. Now you guys are probably like running Tesla or something like that. So
right. And they'll be the same way about you. So exactly. I forgot to ask you this too, of course. So you obviously have major training in martial arts, right? Like you're really doing that stuff. You probably do you have a stunt guy too? Like, how does all that work?
I mean, I definitely have a stunt guy. Noah and Mark are both Noah being Garrett and Mark Canonizado are both my stunt doubles. And you know, genuinely speaking, I need to stop saying that. But I do.
I didn't even notice you said that, by the way. Do you feel like you say that a lot?
I feel like I definitely do say genuinely speaking a lot, which should be kind of a given. Like I wouldn't speak, you know, not from the heart, but I do a lot of my own stunts. I'd say 90 to 95% of the stunts that I do are myself, or the stunts in the show. The only area that it gets a little bit, you know, wonky is when physically there is something that could be hurting me. Like there were only 2 stunts this season that I couldn't do, and one of them was getting thrown up against a tree, and they were just like, we can't, like, there are so many accidents that it's like, it's not even, we believe that you can do it. It's just the guy throwing you, like, we would hate for something bad to happen and he accidentally miss and you hit a part, like you don't hit the back pad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there were 2 instances like that, in both of the seasons that I couldn't do. But I've been really fortunate, you know, and all of my respect goes to our 2 stunt coordinators, Hito and Janelle, because they really train us properly. Like they make sure that we're comfortable and that, you know, we're safe doing what we're doing. And when that happens, like everything else comes so much more easy. Like when you're comfortable and you feel ready and prepared to do a freaking 30 minutes of fighting for a season finale. Like it all feels like a breeze when you have two people who are facilitating and really making sure that that all the gears are kind of well oiled and stuff like that. So getting to work with those two guys, I mean, Hito is the stunt coordinator for Stranger Things and Ozark's like
cool. For Ozark too?
Yeah, exactly. Like nice. He's a master. And you would think like Ozark. Like,
yeah, different.
Yeah, like, but he does car stunts, like gun stunts, like you would think like genuinely when I first thought of it, I'm like, oh, stunts like John Wick. It's just fighting. It's like when you like two people fighting, but it's so much more than that. It's like from people getting dragged against a wall to car stunts and, you know, jumping off of stuff like fire, like getting lit on fire. That's his department. So it's really everything and everything in between. And getting to work with someone who is so talented like that is just, Cobra Kai owes everything to these guys, because without these iconic fight scenes with like Johnny in the first episode where he's kicking a bunch of teenagers' butts, or when Johnny and Billy get to fight, or Johnny and Ralph get to fight, like all of that is owed to Hito and Janelle. So they deserve all the credit for that. You know, they got nominated for our show for stunts and stuff like that. So awesome. I'm excited to see what they cook up for season 3 and 4.
Okay, cool. So let me ask you one last question before we wrap. You said that you weren't watching a lot of TV, like you used to never watch TV, but then you just mentioned Ozark, so it made me think of it. So what are some of the TV shows? I know you've been watching movies too. What are some of the TV shows you've been really into lately? So
let's see. Recently, I've been watching some anime. My Hero Academia and Haikyuu are the two shows that I'm watching right now. But I just started the Zac Efron show where he travels the world.
I don't even know what that is.
The show, I just started it yesterday. It's the show where he travels the world and goes to different countries that have organizations specifically designed to prevent kind of global warming and create renewable, efficient energy and stuff like that, whether that be water energy or, you know, steam powered energy. And along the way, he eats all this delicious food and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I'll watch it. And the first episode I actually thought was super cool. So I started to watch it some more. But in terms of like other shows that I watch, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is my favorite show ever. It's the most fun I've ever had watching a TV show. So I really, really enjoy that show. I did enjoy Ozarks. Jason Bateman is for sure another one of the actors that I'm like, wow, he's so talented. Like he really can do comedic and like Arrested Development, but also work on a show like Ozarks where I'm like, holy crap, this man is
so good.
So good. Shameless is one of my favorite shows. It feels like that show's been going on forever, but each season I'm like, wow, this is still surprising me with how good it is. I really love Shameless. Everyone on that show is wonderful.
Yeah, you got a lot. You've been watching a lot of good things. That gives you a lot of, you've been finding the good stuff. So I'm going to write down some of the things that I haven't seen. For sure, Honey Boy is going to be the first on my list.
Honey Boy is super, super good.
Okay.
I'm blanking on the actors in Honey Boy, but both of the guys that play Shia LaBeouf are really, really talented.
Okay. I will check that out.
Lucas something. But yeah, I would definitely suggest Honey Boy. And if you have any suggestions, send them my way. I have ample time right now.
That was Xolo Maridueña. Next up on the show, I can hardly wait to share them with you. Mayim Bialik from The Big Bang Theory. Love this talk with her. You're going to love it too, I think. And Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer, comes back for a second podcast because if you remember, we did one about 2 years ago, I think. Vicki Lawrence is also here from the Carol Burnett Show. You know, she was also the star of Mama's Family and oodles more. So remember to subscribe. And thank you for hanging out with Xolo and me. I'm Cara Mayer Robinson. I'll talk to you soon.
And wait, but Newark, that airport is in New Jersey, right?
Correct. The airport's New Jersey.
That is like the roughest time I've ever, like I've flown to New York before in LaGuardia and left from Newark.
Yeah.
Or maybe is there another one? And that was like the longest drive ever. There must be some tunnel or something like that that goes.
It's a tunnel, but it's super close to the city, like super close.
Maybe it was just traffic or something that day, or maybe it was just that I was like 12 years old and 5 minutes felt like an hour. But I just remember being like, oh my gosh, we can just fly out of LaGuardia or JFK next time. Like this is rough, but that's so cool. So how long have you lived in New Jersey?
So like pretty much
how long did you live there?
Pretty much my whole life until I moved to Florida, like I said, for college. So I was in Florida for 4 years, and then I decided to move back here when it got too hot and humid. And I was like, I'm so done with this, and I have to change my career. So like I'm going to work, in something different. So I moved back up Northeast, and then so I've been here ever since. To tell you the truth, I'm kind of itching to move to California. I'm not sure. But I do fly out there a few times a year to do interviews and whatnot. And it's I love New York now. So I really do like having the best of both.
I get that. They're both acquired tastes, Los Angeles and New York. Like if you don't like it in the first couple of weeks, I really don't think you'll like it at all. Like the traffic in Los Angeles is terrible, but the food out here and the culture out here, I'd say is great. But the pacing is so different from New York. Like totally. New York, I'd say, is definitely like this, whereas Los Angeles is like hurry up and wait. So
that's true.
They're both acquired taste, but I love them both. I really do, and the food in both is so phenomenal.
My favorite restaurant is in LA. It's actually in Sherman Oaks. I think it's Sherman Oaks or maybe Studio City or something. I don't know that well, but it's Cascabel. It is so love it. Taquitos.
Is it like an Italian place?
No, it's Mexican. It's like a tacos and whatnot.
Okay, I see it. Here we go, Riverside.
Wait, is that what it is? Yeah, on Riverside?
Yeah, Riverside is the valley. I mean, once you get that far, it's just kind of like, it's just a far drive away. That's what it is. Yeah, okay, let's see. All right, I got it pinned.
Love it. So get the taquitos. They have like short rib taquitos and the guac with bacon. And I'm not a bacon person. Okay. Amazing.
Okay.
Every time I go, I could eat there every night. Like that's my place.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I don't want to oversell it. You're going to be like, hey, so Kara, I went to Cascabel and it was like, okay, whatever. But look, it was really good talking to you and good meeting you. Yeah. Good luck with everything. Keep in touch. Let me know what the good things are to watch. I'll share some things with you.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks, Shia.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you.